Welcome to the Hey Docs podcast with your host, Jill Allen. Today, I am joined by Jack Wiley from Legend Networking. Jack works with orthodontic practices on the technology and infrastructure side of operations, helping offices build secure, reliable systems that support both day-to-day workflow and long-term growth. As practices become increasingly dependent on technology, aging hardware, cybersecurity risks, and HIPAA compliance, challenges can quietly create major vulnerabilities. In this episode, we're talking about what both startups and established practices should be thinking about when it comes to IT strategy, security, and creating a strong technological foundation. So let's get started. And now, a word from the sponsors who make this podcast possible. Want a cleaner workflow for orthodontic cases? Meet Clarity Solutions from Solventum, formerly 3M Healthcare. The Clarity portal puts aligners, digital bonding, and retainers in a single streamlined platform. One workflow, fewer handoffs, and more control for planning through retention. Simplify your next case. Reach out to your local Solventum sales rep today or visit us at go.solventum.com/clarity. Again, that is go.solventum.com/clarity to learn more. Hey docs, if your new patient follow-up depends on someone remembering, it's leaking revenue. Greyfinch automates new patient follow-up, texts and emails go out automatically, and your treatment coordinator just checks their tasks list to see what needs a quick call or a more personalized message. That is one of the many reasons I recommend everyone take a look at Greyfinch. It isn't just a follow-up tool, it's a complete practice management software built to help you grow and scale. Stop leaking revenue and get $500 off your startup fee with the Jill Allen special at greyfinch.com/Jill Allen. Jack, I am so excited to have you here on Hey Docs. Thanks for being here.
I'm very excited to talk to you. Thank you for inviting me, Jill.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not very often I get to, where I'm going with this. We get to say Jack and Jill, right? I think just very few times in my life have I got to say that. So anyways, I would love it, Jack, if you wouldn't mind just talking to us. The way I love it on Hey Docs is to have my guests talk a little bit about who they are, their background, how they got started in our industry or got into our industry. And then, of course, I want you to talk a little bit about Legend Networking as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, happy to share with you. My name is Jack Wiley, and our company is Legend Networking and Telecom, and we're headquartered here in Dallas, Texas. We operate nationwide. We are a dental specific IT provider. All things technology for practices, new, existing practices, ongoing support, things of that nature. But where I come from, originally from Iowa, and spent about 17 years in Arizona in the software development field. And Ian Lynch, the owner of our company here, found me and recruited me. And my wife and I moved over here to Dallas about 8 years ago, and I've been with Legend ever since. Absolutely love the place. We're a family-owned company of about 60 employees here locally, and then technicians throughout the country. I don't really count them.
Yeah.
But yes, we were basically covering dental practices all over the country, and we absolutely love what we do.
Yeah, I love that. And it's always fun to talk with people who've been in our industry for a while. And when we think about IT support and just all of that, sometimes we don't always think, oh, that's the sexiest side of our business. But really, it is such a backbone to our orthodontic and dental practices now, because if we do not have a good infrastructure for our networking and our systems that are in place, and as we especially continue to see technology just growing and growing, it can really become a hindrance, I believe, to growth in orthodontic practices. And so
Yep.
Today, I wanted to start off by, I work with a lot of startups, but I wanted to start off by talking to some of my more established practices and talking to you a little bit about I think sometimes with our computer systems and whatnot, it's a little bit of set it and forget about it type of a thing. And what I tend to see is many offices are just really, they get to a point where they're operating on really aged hardware and
Oh
outdated
boy.
systems. And I want you to talk to us a little bit. And I think, docs, this applies to you who may be purchasing practices as well, and something that
Yeah,
you need to
absolutely.
be paying attention to. But I would like it, Jack, if you wouldn't mind talking to us about some of those bigger risks that we need to be aware of or practices face when they are delaying that expense to bring our systems up to maybe where they need to be so that we aren't at risk.
Sure, sure. So we definitely see the whole gamut of practices from I don't want to say the older doctors they've been doing things the same
Mhm.
way for many years, and they see their exit strategy and maybe they don't want to invest
Mhm.
into new technology. So it's one of those things, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yep.
But then it's an interesting topic, really, because some doctors will stay on top of it from day one. They understand the importance of strong network infrastructure and having newer systems, running updates, and keeping on top of technology trends and things of that nature. But there's definitely some bigger problems with I'll call some of the older practices or the late adopters to some of the technology, because they really put their self and their practice and, in all honesty, their patients at risk, because they're holding on to all this patient health information. And if they have older systems, for example, that are no longer supported by Windows, no longer receiving updates, they're really putting all the information at risk, because people with an elementary level hacking ability are able to go fishing through all of their information. And it's one of those things, no doctor wants to have to send that letter out to every single one of their patients explaining that they had a breach. So we try to keep that in check by, letting the doctors know exactly what they need to be doing to keep that information safe. And part of that's going to be making sure that you're running, for example, like newer computers that are supported by Windows every couple of years. And it just happened actually last year. Windows phases out certain operating systems. And when they do that, they no longer provide updates and support for those older operating systems. And that's when you start to get into some trouble. So
Yeah.
we you don't want to harp on anybody to make sure that what they're using is up to date, especially when could be one of these situations where they've got 20, 30 computers in a practice and it's not an update situation. It's, hey, you've got to replace a lot of computers and it's
Mhm.
probably going to cost you some money, but it's just one of those costs of doing business more than anything.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm wondering if I'm going to put you on the hot spot here for a minute, but I think about my docs who are doing acquisitions a lot. And you
Mhm,
did point this out. A lot of times my more established practices, when they are in that exit strategy, they're coming to the end of practicing and they're
mhm.
ready to transition that off into a new doctor. And I think so many times my younger docs that are coming in and acquiring that practice, they're so focused on P&Ls and the profit and the delinquencies and all the stuff that kind of thinking about the network and the system that runs that practice is a lot of
Mm.
times like the last thing. It's kind of like a piece of equipment. Yeah, I know we got an x-ray machine, but yeah, I'm sure it's working and it's fine. I'm wondering if you were to name three things, maybe, if a doctor were evaluating purchasing a practice and they know that the practice is and maybe has been more established, maybe they know right away that the practice does not have updated computers or maybe still running off of a server, different things like that. Can you give us just a couple, be aware of this, check in on this,
Yep.
some things that my younger docs can just kind of put in their little checklists of things to be aware of?
Absolutely. And we deal with a ton of these offices. And 95% of the time, they haven't even thought about looking at the computers to see the age of
Yeah.
them
Yes.
and how old all the network equipment is and everything else. Sometimes we'll step in and do what we call technology evaluation for these
Okay.
doctors.
Great.
And the practice brokers hate us for it because the last thing they want is the new doctor telling the old doctor, listen, we're going to have 20, 30 grand worth of investment to make just in bringing things up to
Yep.
date because you haven't updated the computers in 15 years. They don't want that stick in the wheel for their sellers. But at the same time, the doctor wants to know exactly what they're going to be getting into and if they need to build more money into the purchase so they can account for having to do these updates because nobody wants to step directly into a situation where it's your computers are 15 years old,
Yes.
10 years old, and you've got outdated security policies. You've got no sort of security at all, unsecured wireless
Mhm.
networks, if you even have them. So it's good. I'd say three things to look at. I just look at the Windows operating system on the computers. Very easy way to tell if they are up to date. Windows 11 is basically the only supported operating system.
Okay.
The little search bar is in the middle of the screen at the bottom. If it's off to the left, it's Windows 10. So that's just something very simple.
That's
It's
very
either going to
simple.
be normally either all the computers are up to date or none of them are up to date. Yep. Yeah. And then I would just check to see what the network equipment looks like. If it looks like, because usually you can open up the little room where all their equipment is. And if it looks like a complete train wreck, you may have some
I've seen
updates
a
or
lot of
upgrades to
those.
do.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we have to go in and do, when we have to go and do break fix situations where something's broken, we have to pretty much unravel this puzzle of 20 years worth of various IT companies that have been
Yeah.
touching it and the spaghetti monster of wiring and all the fun things to go along with that. Those would be the two big things. There's a ton of small things, but I just try to get a general sense of how long ago the last upgrades were done to computers. And
Yeah.
the, I'd say the most common answer that you're going to get, oh, it was 4 or 5 years ago. And that always means 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I think you bring up such a good point and I want my docs, especially ones who are doing acquisitions, even my established that may be listening to, is if we're doing an acquisition, I always tell my docs, like, this is not personal, this is business. And when
Sure.
you are getting ready to purchase a business that is going to be your livelihood for the next X amount of years, and whether that means that we have to update systems or not, you really have to understand if there is a risk that's coming at you, what are you going to do about that risk? Whether that is just the fact that, yes, I have hardware that's going to need to be updated, or
Sure.
even just there just may be some just risk in general with the system. And maybe we're at a point where we're already thinking of switching softwares. So what does it look like to build that cost into switching out software,
Yeah,
updating
sure. Converting
technology? Yep.
Yeah, converting, migrating data over from one practice management to another. Yeah, the thing is, you can get these evaluations done in a matter of usually 5, 10 minutes. I do FaceTime with doctors all over the country. Usually takes 5, 10 minutes, and we'll just do a quick little walkthrough and say, hey, doc, here's a couple things to have a look at. Here's what to keep your eyes open for. I would always suggest every doctor that's watching this replace your firewall the minute you get in there. The very first thing to do would be remove all remnants of old employees that may have remote access.
Ooh, that's a
Uh,
good one.
yeah,
Yes.
removing remnants of old tech companies. You don't want anybody fishing through your network that you won't even know that they're on there. That's the bad thing. So
Yeah.
replacing that firewall is kind of like putting a big new iron door at the front of the practice and just controlling incoming and outgoing traffic on
Yeah.
the network and everything else.
Yeah, that's a great pearl. That's a really good one. That again, I just don't think we think a lot about. A lot of times we think about all the other things, when it
Yep.
comes to, especially in an acquisition, but we don't necessarily think about that when, and that's just such a good reminder and a good pearl. So let's switch gears a little bit now and let's talk about startups. And
Mhm.
of course, I've had other T companies on as well, but I want you
Sure.
to talk about just what you feel and your team feels, Legend feels, just creates like a strong technology foundation for a practice, and what
Sure.
that that really looks like, and what doctors should be prioritizing when they are opening their doors. And I'm sure this does apply also to established practices as well, because a lot of this probably is very similar. But especially when, I think so many times for my startup doctors or my younger doctors, there's so much coming at you. And
Oh yeah.
it's like, where do I prioritize? And yeah, I understand that I need to be paying attention to all these things, but I
Sure.
also don't even have a patient coming in my door yet. And my budget is very small. And I don't know where to put my eyes, knowing that I will grow as my practice grows. So what
Sure.
do you guys think is that technology foundation that we need to really be paying attention to?
So for a startup, first of all, you want to make sure that the infrastructure is in place, not only for day one, but as the practice grows, as you're adding more chairs, more employees, making sure that you've got growth and scalability in mind. Huge, because uh, some doctors will take this approach of, one of my friends told me that all I need to do is get internet service and get this mesh Wi-Fi network that I have at my house, and then everything's going to be fine. So I I'll put it this way: we fix a lot of bad haircuts, we call it.
Oh, I love that. That's a great
Yeah,
analogy.
yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, or the husband that's the software engineer that decided to take on all of the IT challenges at the practice. A couple things that I would suggest. First of all, don't be afraid to have absolutely everything hardwired as much as possible. You want to have eliminate as many the down the road challenges that you can. Connectivity. So for our help desk here, it's something like 50% of the incoming calls that we get from 600 plus practices have to do with wireless connectivity issues. Anytime you have the opportunity, especially if it's a situation where, hey, we're building a practice, you want to have everything hardwired, the computers, the telephones, you want to have wireless access points that are hardwired into the network, security cameras, things of that nature. So we typically will go over, we'll actually lay out the complete infrastructure for them, and whether or not it's us putting down the low voltage wires for them or them just taking the information to their low voltage vendor. But yeah, we'll lay it all out for them so they have a proper infrastructure and the room for the growth. But I think that not so much, also considering we'll call it the patient entertainment portion of the equation, because
Yes.
um, we'll get into some situations where it's like, hey, we've got this big ortho bay and we're going to have TVs overhead of each of the patients. And doc, let's talk about this, because their idea is to have streaming TV going on each of the TVs. And I'm like, did you think about when Ice Age is playing here and Cars is playing here, you're going to have some serious noise pollution and some really annoyed employees really quick. We'll just, it's all just part of the interview process with them, finding out exactly what they have in mind and putting these problems out there and seeing how they want to deal with it. Because we'll oftentimes go in and give them the option, okay, we're going to have all these TVs all playing the same content, with also the ability, say, to have the one TV that the parent doesn't approve of whatever you're watching, have the ability to put on the Bluetooth headset and watch their own programs. Just kind of talking through everything. So once they open the practice, it's now, this isn't really working out. And I wish we had this conversation. So we try to present every scenario to the doctors that I've seen out there. We've opened several hundred orthodontist practices over the years and seen what works, what doesn't work, kind of what the latest trends are and what people want, and try to offer those ideas to each of the doctors that we work with. So,
Yeah, I love that. And again, I think that when we think about our data layout and what we're doing in our office, that initial plan, I think it can become really hard for my startup docs, because they've either only seen it a certain way in an associateship
Yep.
position, or it's just hard to think about what will it look like when I am busier. And I always tell docs, if we can really think about that, and you use the word low voltage, and for anybody who doesn't know, that's our data cabling,
Yep.
before
Ethernet cables. Yeah.
yep. And that's just kind of what runs everything in our office. And I think a lot of times our docs think, oh, I'll just run everything wirelessly. And,
No.
to talk about a nightmare in and of itself, yeah, that may work great when you have one computer and one thing going in your office, but that doesn't work great when we've got 20 computers and all kinds of data
Oh,
running
yeah.
and all of that. But also, I think you made a really good point that, especially from a startup, if we can think about where we want our cabling to go and where we're going to hook up televisions, even if it's not now, but where it could be, it's so much easier to do that wiring before our drywall goes on than to
Oh,
come
yeah,
back
absolutely.
after the fact. And when you guys have had to do this, and not that we can't do it this way, but man, it's a bummer to punch through brand new drywall
Oh, yeah.
and be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we totally I changed my mind after the walls are up, and now you've got this
Yeah.
beautiful drywall that you're punching through and trying to fish wire through. That would have been
Yep.
so much easier if we did it when everything was wide open before
Exactly.
everything went on.
Exactly. Yeah. Just planning ahead as much as possible. It could even be, hey, let's look at your lab. Let's look in sterile. Where may you potentially have a 3D printer in the future? Where are you thinking, even if it's not day one, it's, hey, are you going to want an ordering station somewhere where you can have a telephone and a computer to order product, or peek at the schedule or enter clinical
Yes.
notes between patients? We just want to make sure that we're placing data in the proper places. And it, like you said, data can be run down the road, but there's just certain areas where it's going to end up looking sloppy. And we don't ever want your beautiful brand new practice to have
Right.
wires running across the countertops and look like a mess.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely we've seen those. You and I both have seen those offices
Oh
where you're
boy.
like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that doesn't look nearly as good as it could be." And now, a word from the sponsors who make this podcast possible. Are you thinking about opening an orthodontic practice? I know, it's a big decision, but saving 25% on the ADEC equipment you need to get started, that's an easy one. Because ADEC has a special program called Smart Start, designed to help you launch your first practice. You get up to 25% off your ADEC orthodontic equipment and furniture. You also get complimentary services to help you run and grow your business. And my favorite part, access to the Smart Start pricing for 2 whole years after you open your doors. That gives you flexibility to add more chairs as your cash flow grows. It's pretty smart. As an orthodontist, you care about getting all the little details right, and ADEC really got it right with this program. So if starting off with a big savings on ADEC equipment sounds good to you, the ADEC Smart Start is definitely worth a closer look. Just follow the link in the show notes to learn more. So let's switch gears a little bit. And I want to talk about security and HIPAA compliance. And
Sure.
because I think that those are, again, not the things we want to talk about. Nobody gets into business and like, "Ooh, I can't
Mhm.
wait to deal with HIPAA compliance. Like
Hey.
that is going to be the best thing ever." But we have to think about that. We have to understand what that looks like. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that from the IT side and
Sure.
what we need to be thinking about as practice owners.
So there's a lot there. Is this ever changing? If you ever look at the HIPAA Bible, some refer to it as there's something new in it every day. It seems
Mhm.
like there's no way that any practice is ever going to be 100% compliant, but having ongoing training is probably one of the best things I can recommend. Between that and just initial training of employees as well is huge. So there's actually, I had it sitting here somewhere. Department of Defense actually has a link to their website that you can put. It's almost it's the layout of it is almost like a video game. So you sit the employee down and they have to go through each of the individual fields, and it's just a great training. I can provide the link to you
Great. We'll
if
put it in the show notes. Yeah, that would be
yeah.
great.
But it's great. So you can put employees down in front of the training, and there's cyber training. It's going to cover things like, because most threats, some are from the outside, but a lot are from the inside. And it has to do with employees checking their personal emails at work and clicking on the wrong links, or, hey, this looks like a legit receipt from a vendor that we know, and then them clicking on a link inside of a Word document and opening up the network for malware, for ransomware, who knows what. But it's just an employee training thing, and they're usually the cause of most of the bad things that come onto the network. The other part of that, though, is having good endpoint security,
Yeah.
which is huge. It's not just about antivirus, and it's about active protection. We deploy active protection on all the workstations that we work with, because you just absolutely never know what's going to come onto them. So we want to keep people protected. There was, in regards to, I'm trying to remember the other, was it cybersecurity was the other portion of that?
Yeah, and I think just yeah, security in general, whether what
Mm.
that looks like, and I'm even thinking nowadays, what should backups look like? Do we need to do backups anymore? I think there's been
Sure.
so much change even in that. I'd love for you to just kind of talk to us about what you guys think is important on both of those fronts.
So a few things there. So you've got, first of all, like backups that'll happen of individual workstations, because most of the ortho practices, most of them have moved to cloud-based practice management. That doesn't mean that there's no backups being performed. If you've got a CBCT, you need to back up those images, because if that computer goes down, we will typically deploy what we call a NAS. So it's a local backup appliance. And it's just constantly running in the background and doing incremental backups throughout the day, and then running full backups at night. So backing up, say, your CT, and then imaging all your workstations. So in the event that, let's just say, the front desk computer dies, we can replace the computer, run the image from the day before, and fast recovery time. But for offsite shared files and file backup, you want to make sure that you're going through proper, like, two-factor authentication. There's a lot of security measures that can be put into place when individual passwords for individual users, different security levels for those employees as well. So some may have more access than others, but then also not forgetting, it's, hey, this practice manager has gone elsewhere. We need to remove certain permissions and passwords and things of that nature. So just being conscious and kind of taking, I want to say, more of a proactive approach to security than, hey, we've had a breach, let's call our IT people and figure out what's gone wrong. Try to
Yeah.
head that
Yeah.
off at the past.
No, I think that's great. I'm curious. I'm gonna throw you a curveball here. I'm curious if you see. I have a lot of docs, and you probably are running in this too, that are running Macs versus Cs. And
Sure.
I think there is inherently this thought, and I'm a Mac user too, so I fall in the camp. But
Myself as
kind of
well.
just I'm more secure, and I'm curious if you can talk to that a little bit, and maybe if you guys take a different approach or have different coaching when you've got offices that are running primarily Macs. Of course, you're usually our capture station is always still going to be a PC, but
Sure.
do you mind just kind of talking through that a little bit? Because I think that's just coming up more and more where we're seeing more doctors that are leaning in, especially with their cloud-based systems now that
Sure.
allow for them to not have to be PC based only.
Yes, certain offices are definitely better candidates for Macs than others, as long as it's explained to them. Like, look, if you plan on going the 3D route with CBCT, for example, your images are staying local, first of
Mhm.
all. And I guess there is actually one platform that does work on a native Mac platform. I believe it is Romexis, actually.
Mhm.
So there is solutions that are out there, but it's not just hey, I'm gonna buy a Vatex CBCT. I'm gonna put a clever one on all the workstations, and everything's gonna work great because there's just there's always conflicts. So having that conversation, kind of setting proper expectations is key. But you'll be you're not going to be as susceptible to malware attacks and things like that. But losing passwords, for example, other employees having remote access to data, there's I guess there where there's a will, there's a way. And as far as people being able to do malicious things, so Mac or PC, that's going to happen. But yeah, I would definitely say like I'm a Mac person myself in a business environment, though. I understand that people want to go for a certain aesthetic, and sometimes it's just a little bit more hassle that they find out than it's worth. But yeah, to each their own.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it's good to know that it may not be as smooth, but you're able to work with it. And I loved what you said. You just have to understand what's coming at you, right? There may be
sure,
some workarounds that have to be done. You may not be able to, it may not, your backups may be done a little differently. But also I think what I have heard is that it doesn't mean that just because we're using a Mac doesn't mean that we won't have we just all our cares are out the window. Like we just don't
yeah,
have to worry about anything. Regardless, we still have to be do our due diligence to make sure that we keep our data safe and
sure.
our systems in place, and they still have to be monitored.
Sure. Yeah, I've actually seen Apple-based practices that had unsecure wireless networks, and they're they have local backups. So for example, the backup isn't secure and encrypted, or people were fishing around on the network, found backups, and were able to steal data. So
Oh,
yeah, just all ends of the spectrum have to be covered, from the firewall to setting up another big thing for all practices. Having, if you're going to have wireless network set up for the practice, you always want to have your internal network, I'll call it. So that's for you, the doctor, and for maybe even a separate one for equipment, so for other vendors to have access to that network. And then I'll call it the outside network, and that's going to be for employees and patients. And that's completely outside of your firewall. You don't have to worry about anybody wandering around through the network or having
yes.
access. And if that's not set up properly, and having that actually secure, we've funny story. I had a doctor, they had great, they were paying for their top tier AT&T is like 5 gig by 5 gig, and they're like, I can't figure it out. We're getting just inconsistent bandwidth. So we take a look on their unified controller. We can see how many people are logged into their Wi-Fi network. And they had a restaurant next door, and there was a bar on the other side. And somehow, I think everybody found their wireless network, and
Oh.
everybody was leeching off it. There was several TVs that were anyway, there was a whole lot of people using their free bandwidth. Yeah, so secure things. We'll normally go and we'll find basically get a QR code for their wireless network. So it's up at their front desk. If they want Wi-Fi, they take the little picture of it, and it opens up the Wi-Fi for them. So it kind of make things a little easier for our
Yeah.
less tech savvy
Yep.
customers.
Yeah. Oh, I
So
love that. I
they're out
love
there.
that. So let's switch gears again now because I want to talk a little bit about some terms that I think a lot of us hear, but don't necessarily always know what it actually means. And I think we hear terms like managed service, and then we
Mhm.
hear terms like static IT. And I'm wondering if you can explain what those terms mean to us and then what we should expect from a company like yourself when we're hearing those terms and fixing beyond just fixing a problem coming up.
Sure. So again, the proactive word for both us and for the practice. It's not a matter of, hey, let's fix this once it breaks, or let's call the IT company only when we have a problem. You need to stay on top of many different things as far as the technology goes, making sure that things are properly patched. Uh, Patching is basically the process of just updating. So be on top of your Windows updates, be on top of your hardware updates. When you have a managed service provider like ourselves, we run these updates religiously so that you're not having to worry about outdated virus definitions, for example, or outdated firmware on your firewall causing a breach to your network. But yeah, managed IT services is going to be taking, like I said, proactive approach, keeping eyes. We're actively monitoring our clients' networks. So we can see when things start to go awry, whether it be a breach of the network, whether it be a server down, for example, whether it be RAM spiking, whether it be storage is almost out on a particular computer. So we try to keep an eye on things and go in and make the adjustments before they become big problems at the practice.
Yeah, that's great. It's almost like one's a proactive approach and one's a reactive approach, and
Yeah,
trying to. And I think that's it for all of my docs is we're trying to find that where none of us want to be in a reactive state if we can help it, and finding that right approach to being proactive so that we can see things coming at us instead of like,
sure.
oh my gosh, somebody's in my network, or to your the worst case scenario, oh my gosh, we had a breach, and now we've got to deal with whatever the ramifications are there.
Yeah. Whenever I do deal with doctors that they'll call us and they'll say, hey, we just want to have you guys on demand when something breaks. And it's again that whole conversation of don't wait for it to break, because when it breaks, that means production's going to go down. That's going to be a lot more costly, not being able to see patients for a day, than investing that money into making sure that somebody's actually paying attention to the network, running those updates, running your backups. And that's another, man, yeah, losing say systems, losing a server and not having things properly backed up and just absolutely losing all that data can be, that's the biggest asset of a practice, is all that PHI, your customers really. And yeah, we've had to deal with some doctors that lost servers completely due to lightning strikes, for example, or just zero redundancy, no backups, and those 15 years of patience are just gone.
Yeah. Oh, that
Heartbreaking.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So I know, Jack, you and I could just keep talking here, and I love talking about this because I think it is, like I said, it's not always the most sexy side of our business, but it really is a
Never,
fundamental
never.
piece of our business that we have to stay on top of constantly as business owners, just to make sure that we're, to your point, everything runs off of our database. And when we're out that, especially now that we don't have paper charts anymore, we got big problems when,
Oh yeah.
if we go down. So if somebody wants to learn more about Legend Networking or talk to you a little bit more about just evaluating their current systems, maybe they do a little security checkup, what's going to be the
Sure.
best way that they can get a hold of you?
They can either, you can go onto our website, fill in a contact form, call me directly, and call into our sales line. I love talking to doctors because it's a topic that most doctors don't have, I don't want to say a clue of, but I like to be able to inform them and educate them on, hey, here's some things to look out for. But yeah, no, even if it's just one of those checkup phone calls, because I get these all the time. We've had an IT company for the past 10 years and we love them. They come in when stuff breaks, but I just want to make sure that we're covered and that just get a second set of eyes on things. And half the time it's like, doc, you've got a great setup with who you're working with. Carry on. Everything looks good. And they get a little bit of relief because they get a second set of eyes on
Yeah,
things.
sure.
And then some, it's like, wow, these people probably shouldn't be looking over your technology, or we can see some major gaping holes. And some of that will spawn from, hey, we got a call from our bank or from our credit card vendor, and they're saying that we're not up to date with our PCI compliance.
Ooh, big one. Yep.
And there's a major gaping hole in our firewall, and now we can't use their equipment until we've passed their they do basically a little mock attacks on your network to see if you're vulnerable. So that's kind of one of the big things that will, after they get that report, they're like, we're supposed to be covered, but it doesn't look like they're doing anything for this. So it's, you never quite know. So yeah, if you need a second set of eyes on things, we're always happy to give you our 2 cents worth and give you a professional opinion on what's going on. But
yeah, perfect. What's the website address that they can reach you at?
that's LegendNT, as in networking, legendnt.com.
Perfect.
And our home base 800 number is 800-794-1588.
Thanks, Jack. And now a word from the sponsors who make this podcast possible. Hey docs, let's talk about Smile Suite, because it's not just another scheduling system. It's a game changer in the world of new patient management. And as a proud Smile Suite partner, I've witnessed the incredible impact it has on practices of all sizes. Smile Suite means your new patient calls and web leads are expertly handled 7 days a week, even during nights and weekends. And they offer top-notch customizable presentation software and seamless post-consultation follow-up. It's like having a secret weapon for your practice's success. Curious? Dive into the revolution at getsmilesuite.com. And don't forget to mention Hey Docs to unlock some extra goodies. Elevate your practice with Smile Suite, because every smile deserves a suite of excellence. So the way I like to finish up Hey Docs, I know you know this, is I like to finish up with a little speed round. Are you ready for the speed round challenge?
I hope so. I hope so.
It'll be easy. All right.
Okay,
What
let's hear
is
it.
one business trend you think more people should be paying attention to?
Easy one. AI and automation.
Yep.
You got to get on board. It's not there to take your job, it's there to make your life easier. My best suggestion: spend 30 minutes, an hour once a week, learn a new trick, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your computer, finding different technology that's utilizing it. If you don't plan to adopt it, you're just going to be kind of left behind. It's like I said, it's not there to take your job, it's there to make your life easier.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. All right, what is the most unexpected lesson you learned so far in your career?
Burnout is real. If you work too much and don't give yourself that time off, the vacation time, the family time, you're gonna not love what you do really quick.
Yeah, that's great. And then the last one, we'll finish it up. And this can just be a quick, fun one. If you had
Mhm.
unlimited resources and you had one
Oof.
idea you would want to bring to life, what would that be?
So this is a little personal, but I would say some sort of an Alzheimer's research and development facility that could actually, with the end intent of some major breakthroughs,
Yeah, that's
that would
wonderful.
be huge.
Yeah, that's great. Jack, it has been just an absolute pleasure having you here on Hey Docs.
Yes.
Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me.
Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yeah, all right. Till next time.
Okay. Take care.